we know, teen drug abuse is one of the fastest growing drug issues in America. In the Tri-Valley, we may think, oh, this is an issue far away from us, we're not affected by it, but on the contrary, this is actually affecting us daily. So today we have 4 wonderful speakers who are experts in this area, who are going to share with us insights on the reality of these issues and help us understand how we can prevent our teens from falling victims of drug issues, and if they are already victims, how we can help them. Without further ado, because we have a full agenda today, we are going to hear from our honored speakers. I'll first give a rundown of who they are. Nick Albert, Officer Nick Albert from Pleasanton Police Department. April Romero, Executive Director of NCA PDA, the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse. Kelly Thorne, Kelly's co-founder of Mothers with a Purpose. And later on we're gonna expect our Alameda County Board of Supervisors, Nate Miley. He's running a little late. Okay, so let's first welcome our first speaker, Officer Nick Albert. I'm going to give a quick introduction of him. He has been a police officer since 2007. He's actually a local, I would say, our local resident. He graduated from Amador Valley High School, so some of you may our Amador Valley High students or alums. He's currently assigned to the Pleasanton Police Department's Special Enforcement Unit. It's responsible for the investigation of drug, gang, and prostitution-related offenses. Officer Albert is a member of the California Narcotics Officers Association and the Central Coast Gang Investigators. So without further ado, let's welcome Officer Albert.
Can everybody hear me well? All the way back? All right. So, first off, I'm going to start by skipping my bios. We already went over that. Just lost my slide here. Okay? The Special Enforcement Unit, part of Pleasanton, we're going to go quickly through this. We conduct undercover investigations, surveillance, drug investigations, prostitution, gang-related crimes. Most important thing we do besides expert testimony, asset seizure, which is taking assets from people who are committing crimes in our community, is this one right here. Education and prevention. That is 70% of what I do every day is community outreach, working with our school resource officers, our DARE officers, to develop the information that's going to be presented to you today. We share that information with the Pleasant Unified School District. We share that information with Kaiser Permanente and other social working groups, Access Community Health. We work together as a community to try to get the most updated and accurate information to share with you. Okay, I'm going to start diving right into some of the drug trends that we're seeing in our community. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is marijuana. The most common thing that I hear today about marijuana is just that. It's just marijuana. It is being decriminalized, which is the vote of the people, and I have no opinion on that. My job is to enforce the laws that the public enacts. But the misconception is that it's marijuana and it's not a big deal. Today's marijuana is significantly more potent. So the average THC content, which is the active ingredient in marijuana that gives you the euphoric high, back in 1970 was 1%. By the 90s, that grew to 3 to 4%. By the 2000s, up to 13%. Today, high-quality marijuana has 37% THC. Okay? 37 times more potent than what our parents or grandparents maybe were experienced back in the 70s and 60s. By turning that into a concentrated form, which is the current trend, concentrating that from an organic matter into a liquid, wax, solid, butane hash oil wax 50 to 90% THC. I know when we're talking about numbers, things get skewed. But think about that. 90% more potent than what used to be out there. Times are changing, and our drugs are changing with them. What is DHO and wax? Okay? This is concentrated substance, thick liquid, dark golden color, wax or honey-like appearance. Methods of use: smoked or mixed with tobacco or marijuana, and the onset effects are similar to marijuana itself. This is the trend that we're seeing in our youth. I want you to look at these advertisements and tell me why we think we're seeing this in our youth. 710, flip it upside down, it says oil. Dabs. Anyone ever heard of dabbing? Dabbing is basically taking wax or a concentrated form of THC, cannabis, and putting that or adding it to your marijuana organic, or using it independently on its own. And it's called dabbing because you only need a dab to do you. You only need a little bit because of that high potency. Okay? Tony the Tiger. What we got? Krispy Kreme. Krusty Krab from SpongeBob SquarePants. Who is the target audience for these companies and suppliers?
Kids.
Children. Children. Our youth. Okay? These are the slang terms. I put this on there because these are the things we need to listen for. It's a complete foreign language to us, the dialogue that our children use. We have to learn that dialogue in order to communicate. Okay? If I work in a diverse community and I only speak English, what good am I to that community? Not a lot. In order to have a positive relationship, I have to be able to communicate. I have to know the lingo. Okay? Why is it called some of these things? Honey, you saw the appearance. It kind of looks like honey, right? BHO stands for butane hash oil extraction. That is the process of making this, okay? Some of it's pretty crumbled because it breaks apart. It looks like the nectar of a flower. There's a video I'm going to skip, okay? But I'm going to tell you what this video entails. This video entails the process of converting marijuana into butane hash oil. Okay? I'm going to walk over here, if you'll follow me here. This is PVC pipe, coffee filter, and a butane gas can. How much do you think it cost me to put this together? $5. Less than $20. Does this look dangerous? This is an explosive. If it were accurate, it 100% could level your home and your neighbor's home. Okay? In Livermore, 5 years ago, 3 people were killed doing butane hash oil extraction in an apartment complex. Okay? If you go to UC Davis's burn unit right now, 70% of the people getting care inside are there getting burned, being treated for burns incurred during butane hash oil extraction. Okay? This simple process can be learned on the internet, and who's here has children that are not on the internet? I have 3 children. They're on YouTube constantly. It is very, very hard as a parent to monitor everything our children see in our home, let alone outside of our home. This is a 10-second process. And it's very, very dangerous. Okay? These are the things we need to be aware of and look for, because I'm seeing this more and more every day. The good thing is, as marijuana is being decriminalized, that process right there is the same process of having a methamphetamine lab. So that's another misconception that I see in our teens. This isn't a big deal. I'm taking my marijuana and I'm just converting it into a different form. You are manufacturing in the eyes of the law. You have the same charge. I charged it last week on a 19-year-old because of the danger that it poses to the community around them. Okay? We can get the fire department to come out and do a blast radius for these things, and it's really, really scary. Okay? Paraphernalia. How are our kids using concentrated cannabis? Okay? This is a little rubber tube. It looks like a Carmex container for the lip balm, but it's rubber. It's a common way to carry your wax, your concentrated cannabis. Okay? It kind of eliminates the smell, fits in your pocket, easy to hide. Okay? Butane torches. You get this anywhere where lighters are sold. What does this look like? Looks like a marijuana bomb, similar to, right? That's an oil rig. It is basically a conversion between a marijuana bomb and a oil burning insect device. Okay? It allows you to take concentrated cannabis in wax or oil form and smoke it without getting severely burned. Okay? And what's this in the middle? A vape pen. Okay? You can buy vape pens anywhere from $12 to $350. Okay? Depending on the amount of money you put into it, broadens the scope of what it can do. Okay? 3-chamber pens can burn organic material, wax, and oil. Those are expensive. Okay? But to an officer, to a parent, to a community member out at the park, you see a group of individuals, let's say they're 18, 19 years old, and they're smoking an e-hookah or a vape pen. What do you assume they're smoking? Flavored tobacco, right? Something with a flavored taste, vanilla or strawberry, right? For an officer driving by, to a parent, very hard to detect if that is a different substance in there. And you can't use THC-based products in those. It's extremely accessible. Those advertisements are the same for these vape pens. They're bright colors. They're neon. They're sold readily available and advertised outside of the stores on the windows. Okay? It is big tobacco's new push. And it's being utilized by the cannabis community. Very prevalent in our high schools. Synthetics. When we think about drugs today, when I think about drugs, I think about street drugs. I think about going to the corner and buying drugs from a drug dealer. I think that's what most people assume. Unfortunately, that is not the case, because that would be far easier to enforce. The reality is that the internet is readily available shop to buy controlled substances. And synthetics are the wave of the future. When I say synthetics, I'm assuming most of you don't know what I'm talking about, so I'll use some key buzzwords. Bath salts. Have we heard of bath salts? Okay? Have we heard of, let's see, fake marijuana? Synthetic marijuana. Spice. Anyone heard of that? Okay? Cloud 9. Under the tongue dropper. These are all synthetics. The simplest way that I can explain a synthetic, because I went to Amador, and then I went in the military, so my education level of chemicals and chemistry is not that great. So I'm going to try to put you down at my level on explaining this. Every chemical recipe, that analog, so that recipe, has to be approved by the DEA and the FDA for public consumption, right? So when we don't meet those compliance, you see the things that say, not FDA approved, right? Or these statements have not been evaluated by, right? So there is a chemical analog that I can make for ecstasy, MDMA, that looks and will give the exact same effects of taking the real drug. but I'm reproducing it in a laboratory, and I'm adding one hydrogen, one oxygen molecule, something that changes that genetic makeup, that chemical makeup, without changing the effects. It is now no longer illegal in the United States, because that analog, that recipe is not illegal. So there are laboratories all over the world on the internet that their day-to-day basis is to change and add one molecule, one chemical here and there, so they can ship it in to the largest markets, and it's no longer illegal. By the time that we identify it, catch up to it, make it illegal, ban it, 10 more have come out. It's pretty scary, okay? The biggest, once again, look at this. Scooby-Doo, Angry Birds, Hello Kitty. I'm a grown, okay? But this is generated towards our children. That is the target market. I can give you some reassurance to let you know if you sell any one of these products in the city of Pleasanton or our surrounding communities, the property will be confiscated and your store will probably be shut down. We enforce it very, very heavily. But it's out there, and it's readily available to our children on the internet. I'm not going to tell you where to go. I'm not going to give you the recipe or teach you how to do it, but it's something you need to know is out there and be aware of. We're going to skip this video. It is a disturbing video of somebody using synthetic cannabis, and the effects are nothing like you would assume. The effects of this individual in that video look more like somebody on PCP or LSD, and he loses full, complete body function and state of mind, becomes erratic and violent, and loses total motor skills. But because of some of our youth in the audience, I don't want to play that video right now. Okay? It's a real deal, and it's really, really scary. And they buy it at a liquor store. Okay? MDMA. Anyone heard of ecstasy? Okay. Ecstasy, for many, many years, was popular, used in a tablet. That tablet or pill had a press logo on it. Usually, once again, something related to children. Yellow Pikachus, okay, our Pokemon figures. We had red Mitsubishis, different logos, Nikes, things that we identify with as a culture. And they would press that into the pill, and that was your maker's mark. That was your brand. So that everybody knew if they liked that substance, they need to get more Yellow Pikachus. Okay? The problem with that is any time that we press a pill, we have to have a lot of binding agent in there, right? You can't just put MDMA in a pill press and get a pill. There's a lot of stuff that gets put on it and stepped on it is what we would call cutting it or stepping on it. That made it this popular in culture today because it was mixed with things like barbiturates, like amphetamines. So you were getting additional drugs plus a laundry list of disgusting things you can find underneath your counter, pressing these pills that you're then consuming. And essentially, the rave community or the dance community wanted the effects of MDMA. Okay? So, Molly came out and is being marketed as pure MDMA. It comes in a powder form, and it is usually put into a gel cap, which are bought at one of our community stores like Walgreens. You can buy your own, fill your own pill caps. And they fill it up and they sell them like that. Nystagmus, these are signs and symptomology. Okay, this is what's going to happen. Dilated pupils. A little bit? Okay. A little bit dilated. Pulse, elevated. Body temperature, elevated. Blood pressure, elevated. Altered perception. Bruxism. Everyone know what that is? Involuntary grinding of the teeth. Okay? Sweating, dry mouth. Euphoria, increased communication. This drug was originally developed as a truth serum. It works. I haven't had a lot of people on MDMA who haven't advised me that they're on MDMA. I'm a police officer. Here's the biggest problem. What is this associated with? Dancing, raves, parties, clubs. I'm not a good dancer, but when I try, I sweat. Okay? What's going to happen when I start sweating profusely and I'm not drinking or I'm drinking alcohol, something that's further going to dehydrate me, and now I have elevated body temperature, elevated blood pressure. Hyperthermia happens and we're having kids die of heat stroke, heat exhaustion. It's a big deal. It's scary. Biggest problem that we see with this, that euphoric high feels fantastic, followed by a huge drop. When we get that huge drop over chronic use, we're seeing a drastic increase in depression and suicide in long-term users. Things that used to make you happy and seek enjoyment no longer fill that void. You become reliant on this until the physical effects destroy your body, and when you can't afford it or have it anymore, we're seeing that chronic depression and sometimes suicide. Very, very scary and very, very sad. This is what it looks like. White capsules. If you look at that, it could look like a number of things. These are the short-term effects we talked about. Long-term effects. Psychotic episodes, depression. Permanent change in the cells that produce serotonin. Once again, the things that used to make you happy no longer do. That's a huge problem. It's a very unique thing to this drug and its effects. Heroin. Who thinks that this is a big city problem? It's a big city problem. It's a big problem. It is a problem right here in our community. Why? I know there's a lot of people in the front row that can answer these questions. Okay? Prescription pills. Prescription pill abuse. Okay? Abusing opiates or becoming addicted to opiates, the cost is very expensive. And the perception with prescription pills, which we'll get into and some of our further speakers will get into, is that it's safe. Does that look like something you want to put in your body? No, it does not. It looks disgusting. It smells disgusting. Not a good thing. This in Pleasanton is sold in our community by points. 1/10 of a gram. 1/10 of a gram. We're talking about, for lack of a better word, a booger. And it is $10 to $12 a point in this community. You can go to bigger cities and get it for $6 a point. What does that do for us? It makes its value extremely good to somebody who wants to be in business. They can make the connection to go get it, pay $6 for something, come back here and sell it for $12. That's a recipe for success in the business world. Okay? We have to address this ahead of time by looking at our prescriptions. This is out there. I'm going to speed through some of this so I don't take up time from our other presenters. Okay? Different ways that it's used. One of the most common things that I see. Aluminum foil. Tin foil that you have in your home, in your refrigerator, covered up last night's casserole. Pieces go missing. I find it in individuals' pockets, in their cars, in their backpacks, in their shoes. Why? Because they're putting either heroin or an opiate-based pill onto this and using that as a heating source, platform, applying heat, and using that drug, and it leaves behind these lines. Okay? That's residue. That's what's left behind. They will save that. Why would you save that? It's evidence. I'll tell you right now, if you're caught with it, it's a misdemeanor offense. It is against the law to have that as drug paraphernalia. And if I can scrape enough of it off and test it, I can potentially charge you with possession. Not that I would, but I could. So why do we keep it? That's how strong the addiction is. that if I can't get my next dose, I'm gonna get sick. And I can't get sick. So I need to keep this because they will relight, scrape it up and relight it and use it to get that trace amount of what's left in the residue. It's a big deal. Yep. Okay. Prescription pills. I have a display over there. Okay? That display is a cabinet. Some of our speakers coming up are going to get really into prescription pills, and I want you to pay attention. The big thing I want you to realize, why do we have an addiction problem in our youth, in our communities here in the Tri-Valley? Why do you think that is? We have good schools, we have good communities, we're socially active, we're talking about it, right?
Like expectations, the stress,
A
trying
lot of
to keep
factors.
up, competition.
We're keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Right, and that's what they think they have to be able to do.
Exactly. What else do we have in this community? It's an affluent area, right? Money. Dual income. Usually both parents working. What is that like? Access. Okay? I want you to think about, if it's not your child, which it very well can be. I have kids. I'm a police officer. I'm a narcotics officer. I do this all day. And I worry about my kids. I buy the things to prevent them from falling into this trap myself. Because I am just as susceptible as any of you to having this be one of my children. And more importantly, if it's not one of my children, is it one of their friends that I welcome into my home? If you don't know the background and complete life story of every child coming into your home, you cannot dismiss it. And even if you do, you cannot dismiss it. Okay? We're protecting. I don't want to be the house. I look at it like a swimming pool. I have a swimming pool and I have a fence around my swimming pool. Why? Because if somebody comes over who can't swim, I don't want them falling into that pool. I don't want the child to fall into the pool that can't swim. I'm responsible for the people on my property. And nowadays, in today's current environment, someone could jump my fence, break into my house, and fall in my pool, and I'll probably get in trouble if I don't have a fence. Okay? What are we doing to protect the substances that we keep in our home? Are you throwing your stuff away after you're biking in that you got because you screwed up your ankle? Does it get thrown away, or do you put it up and keep it in case so you don't have to go to the emergency room again next time you have bad pain? Somebody's going to find it and look for it. I'm going to kind of skip over this because I think you guys are going to touch on it. Okay? Codeine cough syrup. Who's had codeine? Big nasty bottle when you get sick. You got that non-stop cough. The doctor gives you that cough syrup. Opiate based. When abused, similar effects. Similar effects to that brown, nasty tar heroin we just saw. It's out there, and what's the common perception? It's popular in culture. All over. Open. Popular. We've had major athletes have addiction problems with this. Superstars making millions of dollars. Getting high on cough syrup. The addiction is just as strong. It is opiate addiction. It's a big, big deal. And the perception is not a big deal. The doctor gave it to me. It's safe. It's coming from a company. I know what's in it. It's not like the heroin or the cocaine or the other things that are going to get stepped on and cut and mixed with other ingredients. I know what I'm getting, and it tells me I'm getting exactly this much. That is the perception of some of our kids. That is safe because it's coming from a doctor and I know what I'm getting. They're called drugs for a reason. Pharmaceutical drugs are drugs. Okay? We need to realize that. Talk about stress in school. We talk about the pressures that adolescents have Okay? I have a brother, I think I skipped a slide, but I have a brother who goes to Chico State. Okay? He tells me regularly that come test time, finals period, the number one activity that students do is abuse amphetamine salts. Okay? Ritalin, Adderall, so they can focus. Stay up for a long period of time, absorb that information, a last-minute study cram session for 24 hours, and go and take their exams. How are you going to figure that out as a parent? You're not there. We see it in our high schools. I have seen it in our middle school. If you think you are immune, you are wrong. It is. It's out there. And it's heavily prescribed. And it's known. So if you're the nurse at a school, kids should have to come to you, right, to get their prescription pill. Whatever they might need throughout the day. If they need to take an antibiotic, they need to take a pill, they have to come and see you. You watch them take it, they go back to class. Is that correct for most people's perception of what would happen? Kids pay attention to that. They know who goes. They see the kid that has to go to the office. It's a necessary thing that has to happen. But if you don't believe that there are people that are watching that and paying attention to that, your child, we're all susceptible to peer pressure. Not just children, as adults. I'm susceptible to peer pressure on a daily basis. And if I know a kid has access to Ritalin, Adderall, and I want it, peer pressure comes in pretty handy. It's there. These simple everyday things that we don't realize. People are watching. Okay? What's being done? We talked about that. How do our local residents obtain drugs? So, in our community, we see people outsourced. They go to bigger cities. Okay? They're going over the hill in one direction or another, depending on what drug they're looking for. Okay? They're bringing that drug back into our community. We're talking about street drugs and prescription drugs because it's more readily available and the cost is cheaper. Profit margins are much higher here. Okay? That's compounding our problem. Besides the fact of the stress that we have in our community, the stress that we put on our children to succeed, keeping up with the neighbors, all those things. And a lot of times, both parents work. Active conversations within the household. My 17-year-old son and I talk on a regular basis. My 13-year-old daughter and I do not. She is not comfortable talking to me about things going on in her life. Because I focus on boys. I don't like them. I don't want them around. Okay? Not yet. So, when you see me mowing my lawn in my uniform, you understand what I'm doing. Okay? However, that's a problem. She's at a critical point in her life, transitioning from middle school to high school next. And I don't have good dialogue with her. That's scary. Luckily, my wife does. That's a good thing about being a teen. That's in my home. This is what I do all day. I'm telling you to make sure you do it, and I struggle to do it. We're not perfect. You have to work at it. You can't give up. She's 13. She doesn't want hugs. She doesn't want to talk to me about what's going on at school. When I ask her what happened, how was your day, it was good. Leave me alone. Okay? We've all dealt with that. You've got to fight through. You've got to figure out a positive way to force that communication. I spend a lot of money taking her shopping because she'll talk to me. It's the way I figured out to get in there. Okay? Communication with outside parties is what we're doing here today, right? We're sharing experiences, we're sharing knowledge. Do the same thing after you leave here. Try to talk to as many people as in this room about the things that you heard and saw, so that message continues to spread. Because the reality is, you see that commercial that's out where they talk about how close hunger is? And they show the girl on the school bus, and she talked about her friend who's looking in the refrigerator and hungry. Parents go and they buy food, they donate it, and then it ends up helping this girl that sits next to the girl on the bus. Okay? Addiction is the same way. Your neighbors, the Joneses, have the same concerns and problems you do. Talk to them. It's not something to be ashamed about. You're not a failure as a parent if you run into these issues. Where we failed is as a community. Right? To look out for each other and each other's children. Our children are our future. Period, end of story for all of us. If you don't have kids, it doesn't matter. They're the future. They're going to take care of us. Work together. Self-educate. I'm not joking. Go on YouTube. Type in some of the things you hear about today. Watch the videos. Listen. You might not agree or like the music your children listen to it. Find out what they like. Find out what they're being influenced by. Okay? You have to pay attention. The work is on us as parents. Monitor your meds. We're going to go over that heavily throughout the day, but once again, if you want to say, not me, not my kids, what about the kid that comes over to do homework? What about the kid that's working on the science fair project with your child? They're in your home, they're going to use your restroom. Are there pills in there? You gotta think about that stuff. Cell phone. How many kids do I have in here today? Raise your hand if you're a kid. Okay, keep your hand up if you have a cell phone. Keep your hand up if you have an iPod, iPad, some sort of digital technology outside of a phone. Okay. That is the highway. We used to say everyone would be 16 so they could get that car and get out of the house. That is the access to the free world. That cell phone, the internet. You can find the best things on there and the worst things on there. Okay? As a parent, I'm going to be real here. I'm going to get honest. I'm going to take away the badge and Officer Albert, I'm going to be Nick for a second. When my 17-year-old son got a laptop, what do you think I was concerned about? Pornography. He's going to be looking at nudity online. I have to regulate it. I have to block it. I have to set up those mechanisms. Okay? Did I set up any mechanisms to block the videos he watches on YouTube? Did I set up any mechanisms to monitor the websites that are not pornographic in nature, but that are talking about drugs? Or how to convert drugs? No. It's a big world out there, and the cell phone, we want our children to trust us. They want privacy. They have to believe that we believe in them. However, my kids know that I check their phones. That's an agreement that they have with me when they get that phone. If that password changes and I don't have it, that phone goes to the bottom of my pool. Believe me, it is happening. It is happening. And then I realized I bought the phone and I just threw it in. Nonetheless, okay? They know I'm going to monitor. Random checks. I do it. Pay the bill. I expect that they are doing the right thing. And if nothing else, when I see they're doing the right thing, I reward it. I don't just punish bad behavior, but I reward positive behavior. Right? So you get that check. The kids get mad because every time you check their phone, they get in trouble. When you check that phone and everything's good, pat them on the back because they're doing the right thing. We've got to encourage that. All right? So questions will be at the end, I think, for everybody. I'm going to get out of the way. The one thing I'm going to do is, while I move over here, my contact information is up there. I am available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that is not a fake promise. I have 2 phones on me every day. If you have a question, a concern, call me. I will answer. I assure you. One thing I want to say before we jump off, come over to the stand and look. I recently did a thing with the Channel 5 News on where our kids are hiding their drugs or contraband. I show a lot of fancy stuff, right? Okay? I show a lot of this stuff. People think, you must have got that at a head shop for drugs. I bought this in the mall an hour before I went on air with the news. What does that look like? Feminine hygiene product, right? Seals up, says the official name on it. Open it up. What can I put in there? Anything I want. What parent, what dad is opening this up? Let's be realistic. What police officer is pulling this out of the lady's purse? Hiding in plain sight. Confidence. Because we're not educated, we don't know. So we don't know what to look for. So they're confident leaving it out in plain sight. That's the best place to leave it. What's that? Sunscreen, right? Nothing in here. But if you look at my box, it comes with seals to seal it back up. Factory seal, put the cap back on. It's made to fill with booze and bring into baseball games and things like that. How about a sporting event at the high school football game? I'm not. You're going to feel it. It feels regular. It's hidden in plain sight. Okay? The number one place in our homes, in the medicine cabinet. Okay? So please think about these things as you go through and listen to our next presenters. I thank you for your time. Please reach out to me if you have further questions, okay?